So I'll go ahead and start with the introduction. So Kyle Mealy is with Rocket Clicks. And so Rocket Clicks, to give you an idea about the company, is I'm a Pinnacle coach. And to be a Pinnacle coach, it's just high level coaches, right? And what Pinnacle does is they get a select group of vendors that have a proven track record of getting results for their clients. And so what Pinnacle prides themselves, hey, we're one-stop shopping. So if I'm meeting with a client and I'm talking to a client's like, hey, I'm having a hard time, our pipeline is dry. We need help. We got to get more prospects in the pipeline. And, instead of me sitting there going, well, do this or do this, I have a list of vendors. And I'm saying, hey, you need to call Kyle at Rocket Clicks, because if you need to get some leads into the pipeline and different things like that, this is the company that will do it. And so Rocket Clicks has a phenomenal track record working with other Pinnacle coaches of delivering results. And so the thing is so the goal of this webinar is really not to sell you on Rocket Clicks, is to educate you on the marketing, on things, a lot of things. And you'll see this when I was talking to Kyle, it's like he was telling us common mistakes people make. I was like, oh yeah, I've done that. Oh yeah, I've done that. Oh yeah, I've blown money over there. I've blown money over there. So without further ado, I'd like Kyle to take over, and then basically we'll go from there. And if you guys have any questions, we'll be answering them you can put them in the chat, or if you raise your hand and you want to ask a question, I think Kyle's very open to asking questions as we go. Cool.
Thank you for the introduction, Mike. I'm really grateful to be here. Really excited to share. Yeah, I think you nailed it, right? There are a lot of marketing, I don't want to say them in a bad way, but mishaps that we've seen. And before we begin, I just want to acknowledge that, I've been on this journey with multiple businesses, helping them grow. Like, that's my sweet spot. That's what I wake up every day to do, and help unlock that hidden potential. So a lot of the entrepreneurial businesses that I work with, whether it's as a client or when I was, their growth leader or an executive with them, they ran into these marketing issues over and over. And so I've seen this pattern, and like, it breaks my heart now when I see people get stuck, or where they're like, and I've been there, where it's like, if we don't hit our goals, we're going to have really tough conversations about what we're going to do internally with our team or with our future. And poor marketing doesn't help that. So what I've done is we've gathered a bunch of knowledge and a bunch of patterns that we've seen. And then we've tried to put it into a framework that's really simple, that any executive or CEO can take and apply it into their marketing conversation, so that the marketing conversation stop being circular and they become really productive, and you start to build progress and you start to build traction and momentum. So we just, our dream is that, a client or an attendee experiences this talk, takes it into their leadership room, changes their conversation, starts to choose tactics intentionally and strategically, and they feel like they're making progress. So we're going to not just pigeonhole into one tactic. We're going to talk pretty wide, and then help give a filter for identifying tactics to help you kind of unstick your marketing. So that's our plan for today.
Awesome.
So I'm going to just share my screen and we'll jump right in. Let me know if anybody is having trouble seeing my screen. Good.
Looks good.
All right. So most leaders I talk to have had one of these marketing conversations at the executive table, where leads are down, growth is stalled, we're saying marketing isn't working, we're kind of panicking, but not really. Some of our scorecard metrics are up, some of them are good. Maybe we got a lead from a referral, but we really want to turn on this marketing engine. We don't know if it's good or bad. And we've been in that room, we've seen that room, I've worked through that room, and it's so frustrating. And so, maybe your scorecard looks something like this. We're seeing improvements on LinkedIn, we're seeing email signups, we're seeing our bounce rate get better, but our leads aren't where we want them to be, right? Our goal is higher. And this is when this usually happens. If anybody's got a visionary type CEO, they'll jump right in and they're going to start going into solve mode. And this is the tactic chaos that we've seen. They'll start saying, we need a better agency, or more webinars, or, oh, we need a new website. Like that one I hear quite often. In fact, I was talking to someone the other day who was convinced that that was the case. Our engagement rates are too low. More blogs. We need social media. Let's do a billboard, right? And like our ask is like, slow down, like, hold on. Let's actually go and diagnose what's working and what's not. And it's this voice of it's this voice of reason that we want to bring to the conversation and protect like the tactic chaos that we've seen. Now, this is my chance to pause for a second. I go fast. I have loaded this thing with content, but I don't want to just talk. So if there's something you want me to slow down or go back to, like interrupt me. It's way more interesting when it's a conversation versus just me going fire hose.
One question I would have is just because a lot of business owners, I mean, we're here, a lot of us are here in Greenville, South Carolina. So what are some really KPIs for marketing, right? Because we're big believers, hey, you got to have your pipeline, right? And then your pipeline should lead to your financial forecast. But what are some things that you guys like to track and then impact? I saw some of them leads and other things, but for like a service-based company, maybe like me.
Yeah,
we selfish.
Of course. I would, I have a whole separate talk about this, so I want to like protect that talk too, but I want to answer your question directly. We've run into three types of businesses, three kind of maturity levels is what I would call it. Kind of newer to digital, where the question is, how many leads do I have and how is it affecting my bottom line? You have someone who's kind of in the middle, they're trying to get to the next level. That's when they start to really pile on data. That's when their scorecard actually starts to get a little bit longer and they care about some of those longer portions, right? Bounce rate starts to show up there, impression starts to show up there, click-through rate changes. And then you have your enterprise. And when you're talking enterprise, and we work with some companies in the $1 billion range, their scorecards are pretty massive, and it's omni-channel, and they're seeing that little nudges over here in social has this impact over here in brand visibility, and then they see net new customers over here, and then they're regional. So, I think you have to just be really clear with who you are as a business leader today. If you're saying I need leads in the pipeline, then I would recommend you only care about a couple of things. Your variable spend, which is the spend you can control. So if you're doing TV, billboards, paid media, whatever it is, your non-variable spend, how much internal resources are you dedicating towards it? And then trust your CPA, your financial advisor, to give you a really good understanding of what kind of return you need on that. We use an 8X rule. Like that's the rule we use internally. We're a service-based industry. So if I spend, if I have a team and I count all of our salaries, say it's $10,000 a month for all of our team, and I spend $20,000 a month in all the things advertising, all the things sales. Okay, so I'm at $30,000. Well, I need to get 8X back. I need to get $240,000 per month in contracted revenue to hit my goals for the year. So that's like, we're kind of in type 2 because there's a lot of data that feeds up to those numbers that are served at the executive level, but you can't just get their straight line. And that's why I kind of showed this slide back here, right here. Because like we know that right now our LinkedIn impressions are going up and we're starting to see leads hit the bottom for rocket clicks personally. That's what we're doing today. So we know that that lever is something we care about. Simple as
Awesome.
that. I hope that helps. I know that's it's a whole nother conversation, but I'm happy to do that. But again, we see this moment, usually the 2IC comes in and tries to slow things down, but the visionary kind of wraps it, back up to full speed. And they say, I've got this great marketing plan. This is actually my whiteboard, and I actually tend to do this stuff on occasion. I'll throw up all kinds of ideas on it, but this one is very funny because I've had these kind of conversations and I've seen whiteboards written up like this. And the 2IC goes, yeah, it doesn't quite work like this, right? Like we don't just go step 1 and then jump to step 3 and get new revenue. And that's where I see the most common mistake in marketing is you throw tactics against the wall. You're missing the understanding that I'm going to share today. And then you're just assuming that new revenue will follow. So that's what we're going to work through. And so the problem is most marketing that I see in entrepreneurial businesses sub 10 million is it's reactive, not like strategic. And there's no source of truth for this. And that's what really frustrates me. Like, that's why I get up. That's why I love talking about this stuff, is because there's no real good source of truth about how to do this part. So that's what I want to share with you a little bit today. My intuition, and tell me if I'm wrong, this is pretty, what I've described is fairly common for experience for most entrepreneurial leaders.
Yes, I mean, and to be honest, a lot of our clients, I mean, they've never worked with a marketing company, but they've done marketing, or they've signed up for something and this and that, or they tried this, or they tried this, and they probably, in the defense of the marketing company, didn't do it long enough, didn't understand the investment involved and all this, all these things. But yeah, we see a lot of that.
That's it, and that's it. And so what I want to give is leverage to the leaders on this call, to your audience, on how to better make those decisions so that they are strategic. And then you have a way to communicate to marketing agencies so that your marketing can actually solve your primary business challenge. So there's 4 we're going to lay out today. We're going to talk about your mix, and then your tactic assessment. You got to my end before I could get there. It gave you a little perspective on budget. And then I want to wrap up in time to answer some questions, because I think marketing opens the door to a lot of questions too. So I'm happy to insert midway if you guys want me to slow down, but you can always save them to the end. So again, I'm Kyle Mealy. I'm VP of Growth here at Rocket Clicks. You know, my little slice of life is I grow entrepreneurial businesses. That's what I did at my last one. That's what I've done at Rocket Clicks. We've had a ton of growth. And why this role is so special for me is I get to grow entrepreneurial businesses in my role for ourselves, for Rocket Clicks, but also for other businesses, right? Like, I want to work with really great partners who are really excited about growth, who understand these concepts, or who want to leverage these concepts and then accelerate. So that's kind of where it's in it, what's in it for me. You know, we kind of thought of this as like a weekly stand-up meeting. You're having your team huddle, and here's the issue: is marketing isn't working. And what we're going to really dive into is like, what's the primary business challenge that you need your marketing to solve? And if you can anchor on that, you can then build out a mix of tactics that solve that problem, which is what's going to start to move the needle. So we see the tactic chaos. Throwing tactics at it isn't always the solution. And we hear really good things from like our Vistage groups, or from our YPO groups, or EO groups, or LinkedIn is a classic one. And we tend to then prioritize what's urgent. So like ChatGPT is getting tons of visibility right now. That is a tactic to some degree. And if you're not leveraging it through this framework, you're still going to just spin your wheels. So I have an intuition that the barrier to your growth and to the growth of the people who are attending this is that it's missing strategic components. So that's what I want to give. When we think about the primary business challenge, we think of these 4 big buckets. Your business is going to have one of these. It's going to be visibility, it's going to be trust, it's going to be awareness, or differentiation. Visibility, and again, some of these words you might see them written other ways or defined other ways, so we'll be clear about our definition of them, and I'll give you a headline definition here. Visibility is being found when people search for you. So there are plenty of things that people search for, whether it be online or offline. It's the ability to be found. Trust is this longer play, complex business that requires a lot of like personal risk to sign on for. So like financial is a great example of trust. Like, I'm trusting you with my money. You better take care of me. A lot less transactional. Awareness, this one is like one of my favorites. It's like this really cool idea. This one is somebody has this genius idea, but you've never heard of it. And once you hear about it, you get it, but you're not going online and looking for it. You don't need trust on it, because once you see it, you get it. And then differentiation. Most of our businesses are going to have this, like this is kind of bread and butter marketing, but I doubt it's the very first one you need to consider. It's like, and. So that's kind of the headlines.
Okay.
So we're going to go through visibility first. I love this image for it. It's like the diamond in the rough. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to leaders who want to look at the search engine result page, which is the SERP in our language, the SERP, right? Because people go to Google for answers all the time. People do transactions, they hire people right off of Google all day long. And so if you're not showing up where they can see you, you are going to have a tough time getting business. The last thing you want to be is the best kept secret. Like, that's not successful business. So the question I have is visibility the main business challenge? Are you being seen where people go looking for you? You know, years ago it was the yellow pages, right? That's why you had the AAA plumber, right? Because you were at the top of the list. Same concept here. You need to be found. You need to be visible. You don't want to be the diamond in the rough. You want to be the diamond with the light on it. So, you know, a really good way to kind of bucket this is just that people don't have a logo in mind. So they're not directly typing in your logo. They're not directly typing in your name. These are the ones that are kind of satellite businesses that you don't have a go-to for. So like the one I think of all the time is like a locksmith. I don't have a go-to locksmith, but if I ever needed a locksmith, I'm going to just go to Google or just type it in, and I'm going to call whoever looks the most like real and looks like cheapest, and they're going to come and they're going to get a transaction. So these are people you don't have a logo in mind for. And if you do not show up, you're not getting the business. So I did this one. This is a funny example. If you're in a new city or if you're taking your family on vacation, and you don't know all the pizza places in town, you're not going to probably search for your favorite one. You're going to just search pizza delivery near me. This one is a really simple way of kind of walking through how all the different pages show up when you search. And so here, if you're in the visibility space and that's your primary marketing challenge, you'll need to understand it's a battlefield. Like, there is some big data behind this. There's some big dollars behind this. You know, in the law space, which is one of these ones where, you know, you have to be visible. I mean, the cost per click sometimes are in the hundreds of dollars, and the amount of strategy and data and jockeying that occurs here is pretty wild. So anybody who's in this space has to be nimble, strategic, and ready to invest to fight for the space. Very tough to crack into. If you have low competition, it's easier. So this is like actually pizza results near me when I just did this search. And it's really interesting because one of the things that you see is, okay, so Toppers is winning right now, Papa John's, Domino's. And then you see on the bottom, you start to see the map pack. So the map pack is where you see the, like, and this is a local search, so it's a little different. You can see there's an ad for Toppers. So right now, Toppers is owning this real estate. They're paying a lot to be visible. And then you see Papa John's. They are organically number one. They're not paying for that ranking. They're doing local SEO to win that, which is really great. On the next scroll or next page down, you can see other businesses start to populate. So this is where visibility matters. And I just want you to hover in on Buddy's Pizza and Steak. So there's Buddy's. They've got 3.6 stars. They're right in the mix with all these big names, but they're at the bottom. Buddy's is going to have trouble growing. Like, this is the business I want to win. Buddy's is I doubt it's a chain. It's a very entrepreneurial business, but they're having a tough time creating visibility against the big hitters. Now, if you change your search, your intent is the intent is a little bit different. And so Google will populate a whole different thing. So this is a similar search showed up somewhere else, and Buddy's is nowhere to be found. And so if you don't understand how Google and how the search is showing up, you're going to have a tough time being found. And that's really, really important for visible marketers. I'm leaning so heavy on Google search because I think that's where most people go to search for these types of businesses. There are other ways, right? There are plenty other marketing pushes you can do and be found, like billboards or signage on main thoroughfares. But this is just the one that most people go to first, so you can't ignore it. Now, if you understand this and you understand which tactics to apply and when, so Google Business Profile impacts your map pack listing, this is an example. I pulled this from one of our clients who is in the visibility need space. Like, you can tell exactly when we made the update that helped them be found and the impact it can have. And so this is like such a good example of what this talk is about. This was the tactic they needed to apply because they understood what their primary business challenge was, and the impact it would create was massive. I mean, I don't think anyone would mind having their chart look like this. And this is where marketing looks like it's magic and it just wins. Well, no, it's the correct application of the correct tactic for the correct business challenge. if you're, a commoditized service, so HVAC, plumbing, electrical, probably you. If you're doing any kind of product marketing, this is probably you. If people will type in near me or look for you in a city, you're probably playing the visibility game. There's the locksmith one, big time competition shows up here, or online reputation matters. Like, you have to consider this one. Again, you're going to have more than just this one visibility piece, but this is probably your primary. I'll just pause for a second and let people kind of catch their breath. I know I go fast, but hopefully that was, at least if you're in that space, you're going, oh, didn't think of it like that. The next one, if you have a product that is, the next best thing beyond sliced bread, this is awareness. So awareness, like, people don't know they have a problem. People don't know that a solution exists. And you don't even have market share. Like, you haven't been able to get in front of eyeballs, and you're like using marketing as a weapon to buy attention. If you can show your product, people will get it. And I'll show you some fun examples, but this isn't something they're searching for. So this isn't something I'm going to say you need search engine optimization for, because like nobody's like coming up with, the next thing. So you have to interrupt them. You have to be interruptive with your advertising. You have to like get in front of them in other ways. So if you guys are of a certain age, you'll know that CDs once ruled the world, and somebody came out on stage and said one more thing and introduced this thing called the iPod, and it revolutionized music. Nobody really understood that we needed 350 songs in our pocket. Nobody really understood that we needed to evolve past CDs. Well, Apple did this, and he did it, in this dramatic display, and it was about the why, and it was status quo changing, and it revolutionized. That is awareness marketing. You didn't even know you needed this, and now you had to have it. You can find other examples, but I thought that one was really that one really locked into my mind, of someone moving things ahead and explaining it in a way that you're not thinking of. I'll give you another one. You ever heard of Hug Sleep? This was a huge deal on Shark Tank for a while. It's actually based out of Brookfield. It's just like 5 miles south of here. And I've got a funny story connected to them in the background. But like, nobody knew they needed a hugging blanket until they saw this product, and they timed it. It came out right around COVID. And so if you haven't seen the product, it's this like pressure squeezy huggy blanket, very bizarre. I would never have thought of this, but I know people who love theirs, right? It is comforting, it's exactly what they need, but you wouldn't go like, I need a blanket that wraps up and like hugs me. This one is a logo you won't know, but once you get it, you'll really see it. So Shower Space, have you guys ever heard of Shower Space? Space? You guys ever heard of this?
Not yet, no.
Okay, not yet, right? So this is an image of it. This is the inventor. He's 6'3", and all it is it's an angled shower curtain. That's what it is. But it gives him the elbow space. I don't need this because I have nothing to watch. Like, I don't worry about washing my hair, and I'm a short guy. But there are plenty of people who, get in their shower and annoyed by their shower curtain. You would never think of that. And so if you do it well, people get it. But you haven't seen them.
They need those at the yoga studio, because there's been a couple of times where my elbow is knocked over the soap and the shampoo, and it just falls in there. And I'm only 5'10", so we're,
But this is it. Once you see it, you're like, oh, I get it. But he hasn't invested in the awareness to the level where it's gotten to your attention yet. And so awareness is one of the tougher ones, because you're literally interrupting people. And so you better understand your product. You better understand that pain point. You better make it obvious. So I call this one tolerance for pain. This is startup. This is like, you better have some backing. If you don't have backing, you're going to have trouble breaking into the market, because you can't explain it very easily. So I think of this as as seen on Shark Tank. I always love the Netflix and Blockbuster example. Like, someone stood up and said, hey, we're going to like send people DVDs in the mail, and they're going to send them back. But it worked. Breaking new ground, right? If you're bringing a new type of business to a new geo, you have to make some noise. So I'll pause there. Awareness one, that one's a fun one. That's when things go viral. That's, Hug Sleep blew up overnight. I mean, if you read their story, it's pretty wild. do everything out of the US. Very cool story. So the next one is differentiation. This one's going to feel like the most bread and butter. You're going to probably resonate. Anybody on the call is going to resonate with this one very deeply. It's going to make a lot of sense. But I don't think it's probably your primary. It could be depending on your market, but it could be. You're offering an alternative to a well-known product. People tend to stick with like what's already true in the competitive landscape. You know, I think of this one as like everybody's got their moat and the drawbridge is like, we are different than them across the valley. You're fighting for market share, right? There's plenty of competitors in this space. So I'm going to give you some examples of this, two of them that are interesting. I think of Tesla in this bucket to some degree. Yes, there was some awareness at some point, but like electric vehicles aren't new. He's differentiated, Tesla's and Elon Musk has differentiated himself in how he's going to market, which I think is really fascinating. Very visionary founder. He's gotten to the point now where it feels like you would consider an electric vehicle like as just a different option than a gas vehicle or a diesel vehicle. So kind of a different way to think about differentiation, like you're bringing something new to the market, but you've already got visibility on it. So you're probably past awareness and now you're into differentiation. A really classic example of this one is Starbucks. Like, listen, it's a cup of coffee. There are hundreds of places you can get a cup of coffee, but why on earth do we pay an extra $2 or $3, $4 to get a Starbucks one? What makes them different? And that's actually the kind of the rooting of their marketing, if you really think about it. And it doesn't show up just in paid ads. It doesn't like that's moot. It's the experience that you get. But I believe that's all marketing, right? That's all culture. That's all how they presented their brand as cool and fun. That's really heavy branding stuff. It's kind of a different way to think about differentiation, very classic. But it can get really tactical too, right? There's multiple shops in the same, city doing the same kind of thing. So this one's recruitment. Happen to know both of these businesses really well, do things very well, like in different ways. And they're both different than the recruiting industry norm. So most recruitment is, some percentage of salary is one of the fees. Titus is based out of Milwaukee. They do hourly search for recruitment, which is very different, very mold breaking. And then Vision Spark, also in the Pinnacle and EOS community, they do flat fee. Again, very different, but it's still recruitment. So differentiation. This one is if there's an 800-pound gorilla, you're trying to rip away that market share from them. They've got a grip on it, like that's the Tesla one. If you have a unique selling proposition, this is where this will show up very heavy. Technology, right? Are you using technology when everyone's using pen and paper in this space? Like, are you changing how the industry does its work? Or just your approach, right? We're going to say, hey, we're really open and honest about our fees. We're going to cap our fees, things like that. But what it isn't, and this is where I see marketing really struggle, is they'll say it's our level of service or your quality. Like, those are table stakes. Like, please stop. Like, if you're not putting a quality product or a level of service that you believe in out in the market, like, stop. Like, go fix that. Then put dollars into your marketing. So that's a really good way of like protecting your marketing dollars, is actually having an intent with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pause. I know I fire hose. Hopefully.
No, that's good. That was good on the Starbucks thing. I always also, they do make a good cup of coffee because I always I try to go to local sometimes, and the consistency is where they beat people. So I mean, it's one of those things,
That's why I'll go like McDonald's, like, right? They have one, their differentiation is consistency and location, right? It's a burger, a bad burger at that. But if I'm in a different town and I'm driving by and I'm like, it's late o'clock, I just flew in, I try to eat healthy, but like I just need something. I need some sort of sustenance. I see a burger joint or that one, I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to look at the reviews potentially first, and that's where visibility shows up. But if it's Burger King and McDonald's, I'm going to pick McDonald's. I know what I'm getting. Sometimes Burger King not. It's not a slight on Burger King, but I like consistency.
One thing, if we have a little time, I do believe, and unfortunately, I should have given you a little warning on this, but when I see people on the podcast, I think, or on the webinar, is I see labor, all of them are short on labor. So the thing is, and I believe those four things that you talk about really go into the labor market too, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, your business, your brand. Like, which one are you trying to go to market with your potential new hires with? Is it, trust is going to be a big one here, I think. And I think this will be a good one for it. But differentiation, for sure. If you, digital marketing agencies have a ton of there's a ton of them. And so our battle for talent is very, very hard. Our differentiation, and it's our opener with our talent and our LinkedIn recruiting pool that we use, is that we have a very small analyst to client ratio. So like our team members will work on maybe 4, 5 businesses tops, where most in the industry will do, we've heard of 60 or 70 clients that they're responsible for. Crazy. So that we're like, would you like less stress? Like, yeah. So differentiation is a huge, huge asset there. Awareness is one. Like I can actually see from my building here, there's a bunch of industrial buildings and they all have their now hiring banners. So they're trying to create their awareness that we're here, we're hiring.
Right.
Whether that's effective or not, I don't know, but yeah, it's a good point. So I'll go into trust. This one cracks me up. I think of like the bachelor party. So this image is really funny to me. So this is clearly a guy who's about to go bungee jumping. He's trusted his buddies and his friends that this is going to be a real bungee jump, and they leave this poor guy out to make a fool of himself. So trust, right? You got to trust the people who you're working with on, when it's your wealth, your health, your future. So these are big purchases. These are complex purchases. This is mostly B2B marketing, not always. There's plenty of transactional B2B marketing, but if you're selling a $30,000 boiler for an apartment complex, you're going to need some trust. If you're selling I'm going to take care of you during retirement, you're going to need a lot of trust. So lots of education in this space, lots of understanding of the ecosystem, lots of thought leadership, lots of proof of concept, social proof. So I think of, Northwest Mutual just came to mind. They have this giant building downtown Milwaukee. And I pulled a screenshot of their website because I thought it was really interesting. And I was going to bring this up, but you guys can imagine it. Pizza Hut or Domino's, if you click their landing page after you search for them, you're getting blasted with promotions like buy one, get one free, or free carryout, or it's transactional. You look at Northwest Mutual, they're talking about, so you feel good, too important to wait for. This is a very different kind of messaging, very longer play. You're going to see they have a lot of different subcategories. You're going to see a lot of content. So content shines bright. Nonprofits are here, right? I'm taking your dollars and I'm going to turn them into good. Another example that came to mind is, and this one was really great. I really like this one, the Mayo Clinic. Like we already have an assumption we hear about it, like, oh, they're going to be able to solve this crazy problem I have. They've built trust in the marketplace that they have, and they nail it. Like, this is great marketing. When you need answers, you know where to go. And so that matches with the brand identity they have. Very, very well done. Not what you're seeing on Pizza Hut. It's not what you're going to see in the shower space, the curtain guy. Right like this. And again, look at how many different subcategories they have on that heading bar of their webpage, because they have a lot more they have to share to build that trust. So if you're trying to build a transactional website where they click in and buy, but you're selling trust, good luck. If you are giving them a very small one-sheeter that's discount and you're trying to do like relationship marketing, you're not going to do well. So understanding how to then pick the tactics that's going to help those shine bright for you, no matter what tactic it is, and have those all align, that's kind of the end goal for our conversation today. So a good way to measure trust is, I just built a little spectrum here. When you're in the visibility space, you're more transactional, promotional material. So whatever tactics you're doing, it's going to be transactional, promotional. You're going to have buy one, get one free. You're going to have, the little yard signs on the corners of intersections, transactional, promotional. You're not going to pick a wealth advisor with a yard sign at an intersection. You just relational, educational. I watch and it's funny, we're on a webinar, right? Like this is literally it. This is all education based. This is all about making smarter, stronger, safer decisions for your family, showing that we're experts in our space so that at some point you say, I've got a tough question. I believe that they have an answer that can get me where I need to go, relational educational. So that's why there's very little about our business here, because that's not the game. So I want to give you this one. This one is one of the most fascinating examples I've ever gotten to work with. This fella, he designed a platform for the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. And I was talking to him about who his target audience is, like, who are you trying to talk to? And he goes, Bill Gates. And I'm like, no, for real though. He's like, no, dead serious. He's got someone in the Forbes top 10 of income who's in his platform. And it's a financial vision. It like allows you to look at your portfolio instantaneously and create any kind of view you could possibly imagine. It's managed by like a family office. Kind of a cool concept. I looked at his website and I'm like, I don't think I would give you $200 million. Like, I just don't think that would ever. and I'm like, nowhere does it says that you have a Forbes top 10 family. And when I say that, and if you were holding 200 million and you know Forbes top 10 has hundreds of billion potentially, right, you're all of a sudden like, all right, I'll talk to you. I'll have a conversation. And if we think about marketing, that's what we're really thinking about. So, you know, what he had to do was he had to overhaul, like the best thing for him was he was actually getting tons of like non-direct referrals. He was getting passed around by that like 1% of 1% of 1%. And they were going to his website and we could actually track it because the analytics we had. And the assumption we were making is they were getting there and going, you told me he was great, but he looks like he's not real. Right. So understand trust marketing. So we've worked through that with him and he started to see better results. And it was conversion. He was getting the people already coming. He already was known. He had already broached the awareness piece. He had already had the trust. He just wasn't displaying it effectively. Really cool one. That was one of my most interesting stories. So if you're in the space where you impact health, where you impact wealth, if you pick the wrong legal advisor, you might lose 5 years of your life. Like literally, you might lose 5 years of your life. You can't be wrong. Your product offering can't be touched or held. It's intangible. It's in the cloud. It's a SaaS. Or there's some sort of long-term expense or long-term commitment, right? Like real estate would fit in here. You don't pick your real estate advisor necessarily because of the yard sign. You pick up because of the relationship you build. Anything that you're like in a relationship with. So if you're gonna sign on for a 5-year contract.
Yeah, I think like your high-end contractors that are doing like millions of dollars of work would be in that.
Construction is a big one here. Yep, you want to show up. Yep, 100%. Yep. So the hope is that you have now seen like it's not just one tactic, right? I've tried to show a width of tactics. It's just aligning them to one of these fundamental primary marketing solutions that you're trying to solve for your business. And so this graphic is hysterical because I see that like the one trick pony all the time. It's like, no. Let's not put all our eggs in one basket. Let's understand, what we're trying to do and then go find tactics that fit our goals, our KPIs, our universe, where we live and who we're trying to work with. So little exercise for you all as you're watching is to take a look at, which one of those 4 do you live in, like which is your primary, and I'll kind of walk you through it. For me, it's trust, like Rocket Clicks is trust, right? We're on the higher end for digital agencies. We're not the volume play. So we have to build trust. And especially in our space where it feels like there's a lot of like snake oil, have to build trust to do our job right. So I'll give pause. You probably already have yours in your mind. But we know that not everyone has just one. There's a mix. So I'm going to ask you to kind of formulate your mix in your mind. And we're going to kind of use this, not an exact science, but just like if we did a pie chart, what would it look like? Maybe yours is mostly on awareness, or maybe yours is mostly on visibility. A little bit of differentiation because visibility and differentiation, right? If you're a pizza thing, you have to differentiate yourself because you're the local shop, or you have the best deal, or you have 30 minutes of delivery. So you have to understand those. And if you're playing along, just jot it down. Like, and Mike, I don't know how you want to share this, but I'm happy to share this deck and give away whatever we have in here. So you can kind of work
Yeah,
through the
yeah, we'd
exercise.
love to have the stack and we'll send it to the people who registered just to get the recording.
So if you have this in your mind, right, this anchors those conversations now. So if you think back to when I was talking about, the tactics spray chart I wrote up on the whiteboard, it's like some of those don't fit. Like we
Right.
can't throw email marketing into the mix if we don't have any awareness. Like if awareness is our main problem and we have 3 people on our email list, we shouldn't be email marketing. I know that's obvious, but I can't tell you how many times people are like doing radio when they need to build like differentiation and they're not talking about their differentiation, or they're doing a billboard, but they're not talking about what they, how they actually solve the problem or build the trust, right? They have a promotion and they're in a trust business. It doesn't work. So if you have that mix and you're willing to share in chat kind of what yours kind of came out to, or if you're unsure and you want to like walk through the exercise together, like I try to create a little space for this time here to do that, because I know when I've done this talk before, people are like, I'm equal parts all of them. And I'm like, well, no, you're not. Like you have one that's first. So I'd be happy to do that if anybody has interest, or I'd be happy to do it offline.
I could share some numbers with you. What, awareness, trust. Let's see if anyone else is volunteer, but, differentiation and visibility. Oh, I think, what's the difference between, what's the difference between awareness and visibility?
Awareness is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's new to the market. It is something that has probably seen before. It's the shower space. It's the angled shower curtain. Visibility is, are you found when people search? So like, I feel like you guys would be in the visibility space. People are looking for your type of solution, a CPA. Like I would say most of the world understands what a CPA is and they will need to look for them. I think your number 2 bucket would be trust, for sure, because we're talking about wealth. And then differentiation, you probably have a very unique way that you do business. And Mike, we haven't had a ton of time to talk about your business, but I would imagine you have a different way of doing things, or a very special skill that you bring.
Yeah, but I would agree, like, so I would put differentiation a little higher just because we haven't communicated that to the marketplace, right? So I would say that, visibility is probably 40%. I'm a big believer. Grant Cardone said, one time he says, your problem isn't competition. Your problem is nobody knows you, right? Your problem is, your problem isn't the government. It's nobody knows you, right? So the thing is, he does a good job of getting known. So everyone.
He came from awareness. If you really think about it, like nobody knew Grant Cardone. Where did you first experience Grant Cardone?
I think
you weren't searching for Grant Cardone. You didn't go online to find him.
Yeah.
You found him through social because he was so loud, right? He's created awareness. Social is such a good platform for awareness. And that's what we're going to talk about. It's like, I'll talk to people who are trying to use social incorrectly or organic social incorrectly, trying to create that awareness and trying to be Grant Cardone. Well, it's like, well, if you aren't on TikTok, like if you're trying to build awareness on Facebook, you have missed the boat. You do not understand what you're trying to accomplish here, because Facebook where the eyeballs are, right? And if you've watched Grant Cardone and Gary Vee, they've done this. They followed wherever the eyeballs are. So good at that.
Do you think, like, I still hear that Facebook is good for old people like me.
100%. Bing and Facebook is where those, so like, that's one of the like sneaky tactics we use, is Bing skews towards an older demographic or like a professional demographic because of the way the IT team sets up the laptop and you're kind of in a box of what you can do. So Bing is just like Google. It has a certain amount of the market share. It's nowhere near what Google has, but like the competition for visibility there is less. So you can take advantage of that. Like I'll bet you have half as many advertisers on Bing for the exact thing you're looking for today than you do on Google. And again, it skews older because they generally won't change to get the Google Chrome. They buy a Dell laptop or they buy a Microsoft laptop. Well, guess what? Microsoft installs automatically for you. Their browser. So whenever we work with a professional business who's trying to be doing visibility, 100% we recommend Bing. It's so strong. You can get more clicks for less dollars generally, not always.
Generally. Awesome.
And you've
So if
perfectly set
someone
us up
had
for
like
tactics.
Yeah, so 40% visibility for 25% differentiation, and then, most of our clients, we get a lot of referrals, so we're sort of like that wealth advisor that you said, but building that, the differentiation, the visibility, and the hmm, awareness probably would be the top three.
Yeah, I look at marketing, the marketing I'm trying to describe today is that escape from referrals. Not that you stop having referrals, like please keep having referrals, but it's where it's because referrals are unpredictable. You can't guarantee them. You can't like assembly line them. We're talking about trying to turn your marketing into an engine where
Right.
feed it and it feeds back, like it does work for you. Yeah, so I think you're nailing it. I think you're right on the right track. I found and use this internally with our team. It's how we think about marketing with our team as well. Very cool concept. So I kind of tweaked it a little bit. Here's the source, but they just did this really well. So if there are people who are looking for a product like mine, that would be visibility. And if they're not looking for a product like mine, that would be awareness. And then the bubble size is their marketing spend. Now, this one says 2020, but it was actually updated after 2022. So it's fairly recent data. But it was fascinating when we think about this. So if our target audience is specific, so if you guys only serve, the top 1% of wealth, and they're looking for you, you can see that review sites, integrated partnerships, and trade shows are no-brainers. Which that's how most people who have a specific product with a specific audience go about it. What was fascinating is where SEO and Google lives, right? This is visibility. That's why I lean so heavy into it, because you can't ignore it for visibility. Like if you're not investing heavy there, you're probably not being found. Now, Shark Tank is awareness. Where is that? That's on TV. That's radio. And so, and Facebook and Instagram is not for visibility. So when you said, well, people go to Facebook because that's where old people are, I would say that's where they're not necessarily looking for a product. And yes, what demographic spends time there. So now you're starting to be really strategic. Very, very powerful tool combining these. Yeah, and this is how much they're spending. So this is kind of a fun way of thinking about all I've talked about from a tactic perspective. Now, what I want to be careful of is you can't just fire TV and hope it all, it's spray and pray, right? You're going to see a million eyeballs, but you don't know if that turns into dollars, right? What do they do once they see your ad? Well, what I would say is most people might go online. If they forget your name and they type you in, like, are you showing up there? So you can't just do one of these tactics. You have to coordinate these tactics and understand your whole buyer journey. So I would be a terrible marketer if I had a marketing presentation that didn't include a funnel. So I share with you the funnel we use for our team. It's very simple. It's audience and offer. Do they understand what this product is? Like what they have no awareness of it? Well, then you better educate them. You better demonstrate. You better prove it. They kind of aware of the problem you solve. They're maybe engaged with you on social. Okay, well, now you're solving their stress, their pain, because you know who's on there, right? The people who you want to talk to, they have a very specific pain point. You know that answer very quickly. This is like where differentiation becomes really vibrant. High awareness, high intent. This is visibility. They already know what they're doing. They already have a solution in mind. They just don't have a logo in mind yet. So they're going right to you. And now you can use your promos. And when you think about visibility, visibility is very bottom of the funnel, awareness very top of the funnel. But you have to bring users down on that journey. And that's where the tactics insert. And that's where it gets chaotic. Because if you do a TV ad, but you have a really good bottom of the funnel on Google search, they come, find your brand, and now they buy the product. You could see that as my Google's crushing it, but no, it was actually the TV that drove it. And that's where people get really lost in marketing.
Yeah, has the data gotten to where you can actually figure it out, where if they're coming from television to Google, or because
go ahead.
One thing we've seen, like me and Josh have been doing some like LinkedIn videos and different things like that. And we've seen more awareness where people are like, hey, I've been thinking about calling you, and they called us, right? So, so it's one of those things where, um,
And
it's
LinkedIn is where
interesting.
your audience lives. So you guys, and video is what is a powerful tactic. So I think you're going about it the right way. You want to build a thought leader. Well, if you're going to be a thought leader, then you do it on LinkedIn. If you're serving, higher net worth clients like that, they're on LinkedIn. So you're hitting the high awareness, you're solving pain points. And then if your website is really solid, when they actually go and do that final vet, do they have a clear call to action where they're actually coming through? And so it's hard to measure TV to website. It's hard to measure TV to leads.
Mhm.
What you want to look at is incrementality. You don't want to necessarily look at attribution. It isn't as black and white as it used to be. But for example, if I have done this really well, this whole process, if I put dollars in the top of the funnel and I put money into TV and I put in money into YouTube and I do all this production effort, I better be watching my brand traffic on my Google Analytics, because that's going to be what's going to start to tell me I'm working, because people are recognizing my brand and typing it directly in to come to my website to take the action we want to take. Or
Awesome.
my phones are ringing more. I'm probably doing the right thing.
Hey, Kyle, go back to that previous slide real quick, and I had a question. So visibility and awareness, do you have a similar slide for the other two, like trust and?
That's where it's interesting. So those, I think, are layers underneath visibility and awareness, because
Okay,
it's what you're displaying in those pockets of spend. So in
okay,
visibility, you might be doing differentiation depending on what the market is dictating in there, or where you are in the funnel. So that's why I did the funnel, because I think this is actually where differentiation and trust show up. Trust is
so,
very mid-funnel.
so to get my understanding correct, so go back to that previous slide real
Yeah.
quick. So you, depending on what you needed, would be what you would show in that space under visibility and awareness.
Correct.
Trust, you would,
Correct.
push trust on, okay, I see. So that makes sense. Oh, awesome. Okay, cool.
You're
That's
not
a
going
very
to
good
do,
slide.
yeah, you're not going to really do awareness of like a promotion unless you're very, very tactic driven that way. In your guys' space, I would not recommend that you're trying to sell 2-for-1 deals with me. Like, that doesn't make sense. You'd be talking about how you help people. You'd be talking about how you protect people's wealth. You're building trust using awareness. And then once they get to your site, because you understand that, now you're solving that specific pain point. That's where I think differentiation would be, is on the site.
And I had a couple of questions just to clarify with the audience, the people who will be watching this afterward. If you go back to the previous slide, what is an integrated partnership?
I would call that like the word I would use is strategic partnership, but it's like
Okay,
it's that paid referral network, I think is how I would describe this. We have a backroom conversation of like, I know that you serve your client like this. I serve the same client this way. We don't cross paths, but we know that we impact each other in the ecosystem.
okay, I see. So yeah, strategic partnerships, I see.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yep. Or yeah, like referral networks is another one. Yep, something in that space, some sort of like handshake deal. Like, I'm going to help you with leads. Like construction folks do this a lot. I feel like subcontracting is
well,
very
professionals do it a lot. Like we have several financial advisors that we refer a lot of work to. They refer stuff to us, same thing with bankers. I refer to bankers, and then we get a lot of referrals from bankers, right? So those are more of the informal things, but integrated partnership, and that's for visibility. Yeah. I think those are like probably the most effective thing. The problem is you're limited on that because eventually,
you
you
can't
can
have.
only.
So if you want to go beyond, you want to get to the next level, you may have to consider increasing your awareness. You may have to consider, and if you watch, most businesses kind of go through this, or they stumble through it, or they get access to information and they jump to it. So good.
Well,
Yeah.
good. I think we're coming close to time. Josh, are there any questions? Or are we pretty good? Or
I don't see any questions. We could let Kyle finish up real quick.
okay, yeah, we'll
Yeah, I know I had plenty of content planned, but I just want to kind of give this like spread chart or scatter chart of kind of common tactics that
Okay,
I
cool.
run into.
This is good. Yes.
So I'll just kind of populate them all real quick, and then we can kind of discuss what stands out. But you know, you're not probably playing visibility, right? Because people don't search on the radio. But if you understand your funnel, and this is, I mean, you kind of led me right into this conversation, like you may need to use radio to differentiate yourself. You may need to use radio to build trust, or certainly for awareness. But if you're a business that's based on visibility and you're not showing up in your rankings already, like where people will actually go to search for you, you better be there first. Like, because that's where your dollars are. Like, that's where your bang for your buck is. You're in transactional. You better show up there. Then if you want to grow, like then you start to build trust. Then you start to build awareness outside of that, and you go up the funnel. And that's when I think radio happens. But sometimes I see people do both at the same time, put half their budget in each and don't grow. And they say, this is stupid. So that one breaks my heart. You know, organic social, I could have put, I think that X is in the wrong spot. That's my fault. That would definitely be awareness, not visibility for organic social. But webinar awareness is fantastic. Like that's what both of us are doing. We're building trust and we're differentiating ourselves. Like most agencies don't go on and share all their secrets. PR is huge for trust. Like I could see that as a definite benefit for your business and people in your space.
Awesome.
Is a funny one, right? Most people, you have to have an email list. So you have to do all this other stuff before you start investing in it. I know I've kind of used up all the time. This deck I'll gladly make available, but this would be kind of the way you would work through this whole information because I gave a ton of it.
Well, if you've got a couple more slides to go through, me and Josh will be good about cutting out the wasted time that I've did and sending it to our audience. Like he'll cut this, he'll edit this for us and send it out. So if you want to go through, why don't you go through the last couple of slides? I'll take a quick 2-minute break and then basically come back and then we'll end it. So you want to do that?
It'll take me 30 seconds. This is literally the last slide.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool.
So if we've gone through this journey together and, you know, the goal is that we aren't making those mistakes and we're avoiding those mistakes, not dealing with the frustration, you identify your primary challenge, you identify your mix, you hold on to those sacred because those may not change for a year. You figure out your funnel, right? Where are you already today and where do you need to be? That should inform your tactics. And then you can go to your budget because you know what your big year goals are. And then you know what the tactics are. And then you can build that bridge. That's, I think, how you actually get to the successful marketing and kind of get out of that kind of that stuck mode and get climbing.
Awesome.
Hopefully this was helpful for the audience. And if you guys have any questions, I'm an open book. Connect with me on LinkedIn. My email address is kmealy@rocketclicks.com. And Mike, I am really grateful for the opportunity to share and work together with you on this. This was a blast.
Well, I appreciate all the information. I already thought of a couple of clients I'm going to send this to because they were asking me different things about marketing and I'll actually just give them a quick call. So I was thinking of you when I was doing this webinar. It'd be a good idea for watch it. If you have any questions, please reach out to Kyle. So definitely appreciate your time and effort. I thought it was very, very good information, especially for marketing is one of those things where, once you understand it, well, it's really hard to understand it. So it's always the black box. Like there was one survey that they said that 70% of executives don't really know if their marketing is working, but they're scared to stop because we've seen that with clients, especially client in these highly competitive things. They switched marketing companies and all of a sudden their leads pummeled for so it was like a disaster for them. And they're like, yeah, I made a mistake in that. But I think the CEOs are like, well, it's, sales are growing. We don't know if it's working, but the thing is, if we stop, it would scare us. Okay, well, thanks, Kyle. I'll let you run and look forward to, I think, I see you at
See you in Nashville. Yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.